Six-pack Lapadat. We got the king. We got the king of kings. All kings bend a knee to this one. It is the apex predator of powerlifting, Jesus Olivares, and we were just talking about how close we are to Sheffield. Uh, you felt it. This time we know what to expect. Is it different
Mhm.
now? You said you're flying out in 20 days. Is it different now that you know what to expect?
Yes. But I do want to say one thing, Ryan. I'm not
Okay.
fit to be called the King of Kings. The only King of Kings is Jesus Christ. But to answer your question,
Yeah.
I do feel like this time around is a lot different. It's a lot different just because, and I've been kind of trying to put the words together to kind of explain why it's different. But it's just like when you're the underdog, there's just a different significance behind winning, right? To whereas when you're the returning champion, it's like a shift in mentality where, okay, like last year, my entire, the entire like image that was pushing me forward was I wanted to show the world what I could do on my best day. And I think that's exactly what I did last year. And then obviously, like with what was going on in my personal life and how I opened up about it to SBD and how they kind of marketed it, like it obviously gave me like this sense of mystique, right? It was almost like Jesus is coming, but we don't know what he's gonna do. So it was kind of like this veil, right? Like, okay, like we know Jesus is strong, but like can he put it together on the stage, the biggest stage with the brightest lights, right? Whereas now, obviously, I showed that I can, and I'm like I've just been staying healthy, man. I've been putting together a string of solid training sessions. Deadlifts are clicking. I just feel like this time around, I'm the reigning champ, returning champ, looking to two-peat. Whereas like I showed everybody what I can do, so now everyone is upping their efforts. Everybody is like having to dig deeper than they ever have before. Like it just levels up the entire playing field because and I was talking to Pablo about this. Like going into last year, I didn't really have the mentality that it was a 1 versus 11 type deal for everybody. I just wanted to go in, go 9 for 9, and hit some PRs. Whereas like now, like it kind of clicked in my head because, um, and like you can probably go back and watch the video of the when we were stepping on stage for the podium like John told me, he was like, I'm not gonna lie, man, like coming into this, like I knew that the only person who could beat me was you. And it kind of like turned a cog in my head where I was like, oh snap, like this is like it's not just people coming to perform, it's also people coming to compete against other lifters. So it's like now, like that's kind of where my mind is at. I haven't really been keeping too much track with everyone else's training. Like obviously, like I follow Gavin, I follow John. Uh, I'm familiar with some of the with um other people and stuff like that. So I mean, but my philosophy is like I used to play football, and it's just like when you run the ball and the defense can't stop you, like why are you gonna like no, like you gotta keep running the ball, you gotta keep pushing it down the line of scrimmage. Like it doesn't matter. Like if they can't stop you, just keep running the ball. So like I know some people like they want to hire through training, they want to like come into this competition like with the hint of like mystery, like oh like I don't know what you're gonna hit, but realistically like I want everyone to know what I'm gonna hit because then it adds this sense of pressure to everybody else where they have to be on their best game because I know I am. So that's just kind of how I'm rolling this time around.
I got a couple things. You hit a couple good points in there that I'd like to unpack. So first off, just on your last point, I'll snowball off of you're 100% right about hiding lifts. Show them. I mean, it hurts the sport when people hide their training. We don't get the love by mainstream like some other sports do. We all know this. We create our own hype. I don't got to tell you, you've done phenomenal on social media. Everybody said you have leveled up altogether with your social media. And when people don't show their lifts, very difficult to hype events, very difficult to just hype the sport in general. Show the lifts. The advantage you get by not showing your lifts is so much smaller than the advantage we all get when you do. It's so small, minute, the advantage you might get if they don't know what all your lifts are. Show your lifts. Here's another one. To your other point about I'm coming in there confident, like I'm going to show my lifts and it won't matter. I remember clearly watching documentaries on Joe Frazier, who, he fought Ali. He's the first guy to beat Ali, blah, blah, blah. And he was left hook happy, left hook, left hook. He would triple up on his left hook. And I remember one of his opponents being like, I know what you're going to do. What are you going to do that I don't know that's coming? I know it's coming. It's going to be the left hook. And Joe Frazier said, yeah, it's going to be the left hook. And there's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality like you're bringing in. Yeah. Yeah. This is what I'm bringing. And there's nothing you could do about it. So take a look what I have. I'll show you my cards. That's a whole nother level. In terms of last year to this year, there really was. I remember going into last year for you. First off, it was Taylor who everyone thought was going to run away with it, at least initially, because Taylor was like, he was the king, right? He was the guy. He was the reigning pound for pound dude. And we didn't know he'd end up getting injured, whatever the heck. We didn't know all this. So it was Taylor. And the story on you, remember, coming out of 2022 Worlds was all these question marks. Can you hit these two international standards? And that's where it was kind of like, I remember you being like, oh, okay, this is an opportunity. The whole world of powerlifting was watching, and you had an opportunity to set the record straight. All the doubters. And one of the doubters was a co-host on Killing Lifts, Rory, who came on afterwards for the recap show and was like, I got to eat my words. I got to eat crow. I put myself out there. I questioned whether he could. And it wasn't, Rory's just a one-off. There's a lot of people who were. And all of them had to silence up and say, it was undeniable. It was a perfect 9-for-9 performance of historical significance. We'd never seen a total this big before in powerlifting. And it was 9-for-9. Perfect. And at the IPF standards, which we know is insane. So that must have felt really good. Like all of the doubters were silenced. So that I can only imagine. So you had all that motivation in the back pocket going into this in the last one. This one, everyone believes. Everyone believes. You're the guy. You are where Taylor was. What is the motivation this time around?
I mean, I think the breadth and I don't know if that's the correct saying, but it's just the goal is the same. If you go back to our first podcast, when I totaled 23, whatever, I think I talked briefly about legacy, and it's like I have so much more to give, and I want to make sure that everything that I do is undeniable, that it's unquestionable. And it's just like this, I don't know, man. It's like, it is different because when you break the standard and you become it, there's always this question you have to ask yourself of how much more do you have left to give, right? And I think this is where a lot of people kind of get stumped, is they let contempt roll in, and sometimes it's not a bad thing. Like right now, like I'm still young. I just turned, I'll be turning 26 next June. Like I don't have any kids yet. Like I just got to keep rolling the dice while it's hot. It's like there's a saying. It's like you got to get when the getting's good. So like right now, I just have the perfect opportunity to continue pushing this, because I'm not gonna lie, Ryan, like after PA Nationals in 22, like it kind of stumped me, and I believe this had a large role to play into me getting hurt going into Worlds for South Africa. It was like me and Joey were talking, and it was like, okay, like we already knew we were right there at breaking the record, but obviously with Sheffield being rolled into effect, you don't always want to like unfortunately, like now Sheffield has become like the Super Bowl of powerlifting, where it's like you're going to see everyone's best performances at Sheffield unless they need to go hard to win worlds to get back to Sheffield, right? And it's just it's the nature, sports. It's the evolution that powerlifting is taking right now. So I believe that the majority of us who are like at this level of like the elite, the top, we've accepted this. Like okay, like yeah, we might hit like a small chip at Worlds just to give the fans like something to be excited about, but realistically, everyone has Sheffield Circle on their calendars because it's the money meet. This is like the prestige, like if you win at Sheffield and you prove yourself at Sheffield, like you're the guy. So or the girl, So I had a brain fart, Ryan. What was your question?
Well, we're just talking about the significance and motivation for it. I think you hit it on the head right
Oh yeah,
there.
yeah,
To
yeah.
establish yourself as the best of the best, right? Like it's all of the
Yeah.
world's best, and you get to establish yourself as the most drastic outlier of all outliers. But this time you're defending as opposed to taking. I'm wondering if that feels a little different. Do you feel like you're defending, or do you feel like it's still up for grabs all over again?
I mean, realistically, man, like you always have to have the mentality that it's up for grabs because you see it in sports all the time when teams start playing defensively when they have the lead. That's when you give opportunity for other teams or lifters to get some, like like if you give someone an inch, they're going to take a foot or a mile or whatever, right? So coming into this competition, I still believe that it's up for grabs. It's just the nature of it. We have 20 days left until everyone starts rolling in, and then I think 21 until, or maybe not 21, but 20, 26, 27 days until competition day. A lot can happen in that short time frame. Like someone can opt out, something can happen. Like right now I'm feeling great. Like what if I get sick the last week? God forbid. So I just have to make sure that I keep my foot on the gas. Like obviously, like and I was talking to Mikey about this today, that it's like the way that I train, it's like sign based ego lifting, right? Like, and I don't want people to get it confused in terms of like I'm trying to max out every session. No, it's like at the point where I'm at, the weights that I'm selecting are highly theoretical. Like I've never done 925 for 4, but I did 905 for 4 a few months ago. And like you kind of have to look at it like, okay, like what was the RPE last time? How do I feel? The difference between then and now and stuff like that. And you have to like kind of navigate through this entire like objective checklist of okay, like how am I going to attack training today? Right? Like today, it was below freezing today. Like there's a cold front in Texas, and like the gym that we're training at, they haven't opened up yet. Like they're still constructing some of the stuff. So their AC isn't up. So we were in there in the warehouse in below freezing temperatures. And like I just like when it gets like that, man, like your bones, your legs, it's like, but no, man, like it's sessions like that where you really separate yourself. So I just remember like Pablo is like kind of not feeling it, and I was just like, bro, like you gotta heat this shit up, bro. Like I know it's cold, but ignore it. Like ignore it. Like just focus, focus, focus. Um, so I think I've done a good job of maintaining that mentality of like every single year is a new opportunity to prove yourself. In my opinion, things that you've done in the past don't really hold much value in like present day, right? Like we're still in the mix, like, yeah, I might have been the best lifter in 2023, but am I going to be the best lifter in 2024? That's still yet to be seen, and I think, and like I'm competing in February, like everybody else is still competing in March at PA Nationals. Somebody could have a breakout meet and then Worlds again in June. So like you never know. So and in my eyes, man, like it's not just about winning Sheffield, but it's about like just going out there and doing my best. So
You think the motivation you had to prove people wrong, the naysayers in from 2022 going into last Sheffield, was that gas in the tank, or looking back, does it even matter? And it might happen again at some point. Look, if you stick around for another few years, maybe you'll have another lull where people like, he's ready to be taken. And you're like, oh, okay, we're doubting me again. Okay. Do you think it'll be waves like that, or how would you gauge that,
um
the impact of that and significance of it for you?
I got one sentence for you, Ryan. And I'm gonna leave the talking to the talkers and I'm gonna leave the lifting to the lifters. Because that's sports, man. Like to get upset at everyone's criticism. Like don't get me wrong, like you can take it and use it and harp on it and like focus on it and use it to like continue to iron out your little crinks in your armor and just refine yourself. But I mean, in terms of like my personal life and stuff like that, man, because like trust me, man, like over the past year, like the amount of because I don't I want to say that the amount of hate to like love, I would say maybe like 80 to 20. I don't well actually more, maybe more like 60-40.
Oh,
Because it's
that's a big difference from 80-20.
well, maybe that just shows my bias and like how much I like hyper focus on the negative, right? But I mean, I don't want to be subjective and like rule out the amount of people that support me. But I mean, that's just it comes with the territory. When you're the guy and you're like outlifting everybody and you're young and you're natural and there's like skepticism and people doubting you, like whether it's people doubting my honesty or my standard, to me, I just kind of put that in the same boat. Um, and it's like you know what I'm saying? You just kind of have to navigate it wisely and make sure that you don't let it perpetrate your personal life. Because like at the end of the day, man, like I gotta come home to my girlfriend, I gotta come home to my brother and stuff. Like I got people who need me, and I need to be of sound mind when other people call upon me. Because like, yeah, man, like living's fun and like this is like my passion and my career and my job and my legacy and stuff. But I try really hard to make sure to like when I leave the gym, like gym stuff's at the gym. Um, I mean, sometimes I suck at it because like us fellas can get really passionate and some things like tend to leak into like personal matters. But for the most part, man, like I think people are always going to have something to say. Like I'm a super. People are going to be like, oh well, mass moves mass, or they're going to like be like, oh, like you're only strong because you're big or stuff like that. And I mean, like you just got to take it with a grain of salt because that's just life, man. Like um, people are always going to have something to say, and if you just take too much time getting riled up by everybody and anything, like you're just going to have a bad you're just not going to enjoy life as much, man. So it's like I'm over here just trying to live my best life. So I'm
Yeah.
working.
I mean, it's true, mass moves mass, but nobody has moved as much mass as you have in history. There's a huge difference. But anyways, whatever. Uh, yeah, I was just asking because Russ actually he's talked about on the podcast, but also on a social media platform how he focuses on things to get himself riled up, to get through sessions, to get worked up, smash some weights, and then he could turn it off. So
Yeah.
but it's to your point, it's towing that line where it's gas in the tank. And then
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to bring it home when you're back from the gym because you're
Yeah.
focusing on negative purposely to get yourself wound up. On the flip side, not a lot of negative on you lately because everyone's like, oh my God, he's the GOAT. And it's valid to say so. I was wondering if maybe it's different. Maybe, I mean, some people, so there have been athletes who are like, there are like war times and peace times. It feels like when it comes to the public's approach to you, for some of these athletes, and they're like, you know what? I operate better with doubters. I operate better to prove people wrong. I operate better as the underdog. But like you said, it's all a mentality. You can convince yourself, no, I'm still got a lot to prove. It's still there.
Yeah.
Among those things to prove. So we have some, there might be some numbers that you might be focusing on. Let me ask you.
Hmm.
So you have the biggest total in sleeves tested or untested. You were that was the biggest total we've ever seen in the sport, period, which is phenomenal. Now we have single lifts that are very prominent. You yourself just earlier today said you thought the Ray Williams 490 kilo squat, 1,080 pounds, was the single greatest feat we've seen in powerlifting.
Mm.
Is it on the table to go at that one?
I mean, honestly, Ryan, because the way that I'm kind of thinking this through is probably not. The only way we would chip 490 would be if I'm just just like in the zone. Like, I mean, I think I'm gonna feel pretty good, but it would have to move like RP8, I'd say. But I have this sense of belief that if I hyperfixate on a singular lift, then yeah, I could definitely get it. But if I go for 490, how much am I going to have left for bench and deadlifts? You know, and then at the same time, like I'm thinking about 2025. I think 2025, excuse me, it's just going to be the most difficult year to potentially treat the 3P, right? And God willing, everything goes good. You know, hypothetically, I win in February, right? So I think for sure in 2025, you know, if I stay healthy, we'll I would say maybe even do like 505, just so that it'll be like the heaviest lift of all time. You know, even beat the strongman deadlift world record. Um, But I'm not really focused on breaking 490 or 500 right now. My mind is just set on two peating, right? And if there's really any number that I'm like chasing, you know, in quotation marks, it's the rap world record. Like that's really the only record that I want to try to break in next month. So, but I mean, in terms of I mean, for sure, I think, you know, if I'm feeling healthy, we're gonna chip the record. Uh Maybe not chip it. I think we'll probably up it by 2.5. So 480. That'll be a 10 kilo squat PR. And that'll already set me 10 keys ahead of last year. And then for bench, don't want to get too greedy. So probably like another 10 kilo meat PR. So that'll put me like at 282 and a half. That'll be a 2.5 all time bench PR. And then for deadlifts, I'm thinking maybe like 425. I pulled 411 last week, and then I almost got 431
Seen
like
that.
a few weeks ago. Um, and then the week before I pulled 420. So I think 425 will be perfect in line, and I think that gives me a 35 kg meat PR. So that'll for sure get me over 1182 and a half. So that's really the only number, because I don't know if you noticed it, but it was like the moment that I took the all-time sleeve world record, all of a sudden the rap record was the only record that mattered.
Yeah.
So I mean, might as well just kind of put it under one umbrella and you know, just have everything in order.
Like how you tidy, let's just tidy up the house a little bit, put everything in order and have it all consolidated. But it's true. It, your legacy, when you walk into the sport, if you close out 2024, you'll have potentially 2 Sheffield titles, 4 world championships, and you'll have the untested and tested total record in sleeves, untested and tested total record in wraps. You'll have everything. It's just you. It's just your name, period. Talk about a 2024 campaign should you see this through. We had, let me ask you, we had this debate about who's the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
Who in your mind is the GOAT right now as it stands?
Shoot, man, I didn't watch it. I've been doing my best to like stay clear of like any podcasts and stuff, like just kind of focusing on my own. But Pablo was telling me a little bit about it. But I still think it's Ray, man. I still think that 5 year like that 5 year reign where it was Ray, and then like that 490 kilo squat and stuff, and it's just like, did anybody on the podcast last whenever you guys recorded, did anybody pick Ray?
Um, now I have to double check. I think I said Ray, but here's the conversation we started having. Ray has 5, and the longevity's phenomenal. And at one point, he had the whole sport on his back. He got us on ESPN. He got us on. It was crazy when he squatted 1,000. Like it was huge, right? His impact was huge and can't be overstated. So I'm comfortable with Ray. But then we started talking about how right now you have 3 world titles. But what you're doing now, we've never seen, period. Ray was dominant. But there would be gentlemen in the untested with a bigger total. You're at a point where it's not even that. So then the conversation becomes.
Actually, Ray had the all-time sleeve record before I broke it was 2485. And I think Dan broke that like 3 years ago. But before that, Ray had the all-time sleeve world record.
Oh, did he? Okay, in untested as well. Like all time. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So Ray, because this is another point that you guys could talk about is in the respective weight class, how many drug tested lifters have ever broken the untested world record and held it for any point in time, right? So like this is like a different caveat that you guys can discuss. And it's like I'm saying, like Ray held the all-time sleeve world record for a little bit before Dan broke it, and then I took it back, right? Or I took it. So it's like you know what I'm saying? Like I think Taylor had the all-time 74, right?
Yes, 100%.
Before Perk broke it. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's another caveat. Like the list of drug tested lifters who have ever held the all-time record, it's like maybe 5 people ever.
Dude, I think that's another episode. I really do. I think that's a whole nother episode that I'll bring the same panel back because we weren't hyper focusing on that one particular, we're looking at the bigger picture more. But I think that'd be very interesting to take a look. We'll bring back like Matt Gary, the
I think I feel like you can't overcomplicate the criteria. I think for one, it has to be like how dominant they were. Number 2, it's like performances, like consistency. Like number 3 could be like how and I know this one's like the hardest one to control, but it's like health, like that kind of ties to consistency, right? So it's just like who was the guy for the longest, who had like the biggest impact, and like who was doing the craziest stuff during that time, right? Because it's like I didn't know about this, but like until I don't know if it was a podcast that Ray did with you or he did a video with somebody else, but like the things he was doing in his personal life while competing, like when he was like studying for, I think it's his doctorates, like he had kids to feed.
Yeah, he talked about it on KOTL. He was coaching football. It was crazy.
Coaching football.
Yeah.
Like
opening a
like
gym.
That,
it was nuts, man.
Yeah, like that to me just bolsters my opinion of like Ray still being the GOAT, man. And it's just like and you're kind of seeing, I think it's just hard to well, not really hard because I think the sport that is the most comparable to powerlifting is maybe like track and field. Me and Pablo were talking about this a few days ago, where it's like you can't really compare a team sport to a single lifter or single competitor sport because like when you compare a lifter like or you compare like a single athlete sport to a team like now like when you look talking about team like you got to look at offensive line like who was their lineman when this person had their run like who were
Yeah.
the receivers like who was the coach whereas like in powerlifting it's really just like about the guy individually like there's really no help there's really like yeah you can talk about coach right and then that's it like coach that's it so you kind of have to dive and dissect a little bit more personal into things right but I mean like you can skin a cat 1,000 different ways so but I mean like to me I guess people could play devil's advocate against my point and be like, oh well, you think Ray's the best because like you're still chasing his world titles, right? Or you're still chasing his squad, blah blah blah. But I mean, I just think the stuff that Ray did, like, because when you talk about Taylor, like Taylor didn't really become like the guy definitively until 2021 and he had like a year and a half where it, like you couldn't put Taylor's name next to anybody right and then it's just like after that, you know, like it's been like a shift in power, like whereas like now, you know, like you had me last year, and now like I'm trying to extend that, you know. So it's like I have the baton in my hands right now, and I got to do my best to make sure that I keep it. And like it's going to be a conversation of how long did I hold this baton before somebody else comes along, and then it's just like oh, like somebody else is wrecking house, somebody else just broke the record by 50 kilos. Somebody else just broke the untested record, right? Because it's just inevitable. You know, like I've already accepted the fact that there is a likelihood of somebody else coming along and being the guy. You know, like I don't just tie my entire identity to what I'm doing because to be a good champion is also like to understand like the change of seasons you know like it's inevitable you know like what if I have a kid 2 years from now and my entire priorities change and like you know like I can't take training as seriously so maybe I kind of start to stall out a little bit or my sleep takes a hit and all of a sudden like I'm dealing with an injury related to fatigue so it's just you know man it's just life and I don't say like the word evolution, but it's like there's more and more people who are like bro, like there's I don't know his name, but there's that one guy from the UK. He's like 18 and he pulls over 800 pounds.
Oh,
Uh,
Nanzo.
yeah,
He's a
he's like
120 in
yeah,
yeah,
he
he
looks
just turned
huge.
18 by the way. He just
Yeah,
turned 18 by the way. Like who knows if he's going to be a 120 plus at some point. He's huge. Yeah.
yeah, he looks like he's freaking 6'3", 6'2".
He is.
So
I
it's
met him in
like
real life. I met him in real life when he was 17 and he was just this is 2022. Jesus. He was just started powerlifting in 2022, which is yesterday. And I saw him in Turkey at the Junior Worlds. He didn't know who anybody was. He didn't. I was with
yeah,
Gavin. He didn't know who me or Gavin were, and we were like working the event as the commentators. And he was just figuring things out. Fast forward to 2023, 2024 now. He's a 120, still only 18, and pulling over 800 pounds, and it's
yeah,
crazy.
over
Who knows?
170. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like there's just like powerlifting is a young people sport, um, which is kind of ironic because you don't really hit your prime until like your late 20s, early to mid 30s. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of hard to have this talent that is like in my age group from like we'll say 23 to 26, 27, like compete into our 30s or take it as serious into our 30s. So it's just like I think the more legitimized that powerlifting becomes, like the more um that it grows, you know, like we're just gonna continue to see like this talent continue to develop. And I think it's going to be exciting, man, because I do plan on sticking around for powerlifting for a while. Like even after I'm done competing, like I'd like to, come around and say hi to people. Like maybe I'll take into like a similar role like Joey, like have my own little group of champions who are just doing their thing, and I'll just be around. But no, man, it's just like I said, man, you got to get while it's getting good because like there's no day like today.
It's all fleeting, and that's what makes it beautiful, right? Every single moment. You don't know how many more. Three more is amazing. Three
Yeah,
more is unprecedented. That's how amazing it is. And
yeah,
you're capable of doing that. So it's exciting. And I mean, when I reposted one of Dan Bell's deadlifts, and then someone in the comments tried to shame him and said, like, your record got taken from you by a natty, referring to you. Like it
yeah,
was shaming Dan. And Dan's like, there was always going to be either he's trying to go Dan into saying something, but Dan didn't take the bait. And Dan's like, there's always going to be somebody who comes around. Like Dan's in his mid-30s now, to your point. He's like,
yeah,
the cycle will continue. I had it for a couple of years and it's gone. And
yeah,
he's like, there'll always be someone else. And he just left it at that, which is true. And it's tough at the time. And it's weird that people try to rub it in someone's face. It's like, yeah, but you're talking to a guy who held it at one point. Like someone's going to rub it in your face if someone new comes around. You can't undo what
yeah,
Jesus did. You know,
yeah,
there is no such thing as shaming Jesus. You were the strongest man in the world. Now you're not. Yeah, but I
yeah,
was. You can never take that from me.
yeah,
This happened. It's bizarre, but you seem like you're taking it all in stride. And it actually makes every moment like what's about to happen at Sheffield that much more meaningful. To be able to show up and be like, I don't know how many of these I have.
yeah.
I got to appreciate it right now when I show up. It's
Mm-hmm.
Eh, I want to ask you as well. Speaking of those guys on the come up, how about Pablo? How's he been
Man,
doing? It looks like he's smashed up. So he's
Pablo,
progressing quick.
yeah, man. So it's like we had a couple of issues in terms of training and stuff that I'll take ownership that like because I write his programming and stuff, and I was just kind of not giving him the proper diligence, but at the same time, some of the things that Pablo can handle individually, like he's been because every issue that he's gone through, I've gone through too. Like whenever going from 2020 into 2021, where I pulled 400 keys at 22, and then I gained like 30 to 40 pounds going into nationals. And then all of a sudden, like I'm pulling 60 keys less, like that kind of thing, like leverage change, having to deal with like weight fluctuation. I've been through that. So, and now Pablo had to go through that. But I think we found the recipe. Like he's been doing cardio every day, like 15, 20 minutes. Because he was going through a bunch of personal stuff that was greatly hindering his performance in the gym. Right. Like I'm not gonna get like too into it, but it's just like he was going through a lot of like hardships. Um, and like now he's in a better situation, right? Where like he's living with one of my brothers, so he has a much more habitual environment, right? Where he can actually like cook and eat and have somewhere safe to sleep and stuff like that. So his training's been developing, because he's competing in PA nationals. So I will probably just be there coaching and helping out like the other flex athletes. But like I'm gonna be there for Pablo because he's got to go against Ray. So like
Oh yeah,
this isn't some
that's true,
some yeah.
dude.
So
I didn't even think about that.
so
Wow, that's
we're
actually pretty.
definitely
That's wild.
I know, man. So I think like me and him we had a talk and stuff, and he's in a better space like mentally and physically. So I think if he can maintain like this what we got going on right now, I think he's definitely gonna. I think it's gonna be a lot closer than people think. Obviously, like that's my brother. I'm always going to root for him and cheer for him. But I think if he can hit the numbers that are within his ballpark, like You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's going to be a good matchup. And Ray is someone that you definitely never take it easy against. You know, like you got to show him the respect that he deserves and, you know, go all out. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting to have that matchup, you know, and like just be there for Pablo and, you know, just give it our best shot because shoot, I don't know what it is, but you know, like this might be like a Hail Mary, you know, like maybe like a 1 in 1,000th opportunity. But it's like if Pablo could win at nationals, like, you know, maybe he's in line for a reserve spot. So like that would be such a blessing to, you know, maybe me and Pops go 1 and 2 at Worlds. Like that's something to talk about, you know. So that's kind of where mine and Pablo's mind is at. I know it's a far ways, but I think it's like definitely, you know what I'm saying? I feel like us Olivares boys, like we definitely like to take on challenges that are very like low chance, but that's what makes things fun, man. That's what makes sports exciting. It's like when you have to climb the mountain. You know, Pablo's got a big mountain to climb. He's got Ray in his way. He's got me at the top. So it's like I think I'm excited to, you know, watch and cheer him on and just see him continue to develop.
Will you be handling Pablo?
Yes, yeah, for sure, 100%. I'll be that's really like the main reason that I'll be going to Reno is just to make sure like, you know, we're gonna be in our best.
It, I mean, because it's crazy because it's you and Pablo versus Ray and Matt Gary. Like talk about a legends versus legends. Like that's a crazy matchup. I didn't even think about until right now. That's going to be a great matchup, man. We'll get to
I mean,
there in a minute.
I still got a lot to prove as a coach before I can even like
Yeah,
put
no, I'm not saying you're Matt
my name
Gary,
on
but
mat
like,
like that. But no, nah,
you
man, I
never
think
know.
it'll be fun for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. Just photo ops wise, and we'll have a blast. Have you noticed? So talking about like powerlifter of the year, like yeah, you in the polls ran it. You know, certain people can put polls on their personal pages, but there becomes a bias on the personal pages. But when King of Lifts does it, it's just the powerlifting community worldwide. And I see it's thousands of people worldwide. So it's not like you ran the poll and it's Jesus fans. This is King of Lifts running it, asking it, and literally thousands of people all over the world, all over Asia, Europe, South America, North America, Africa, Australia are voting, and you won with a landslide. And something that Russ was saying should be taken into account when we're doing lifter of the year. And all of us on the panel said you were lifter of the year, anyways, right? But the
Mhm.
polls really, the community spoke to you being lifter of the year, which means a lot. So that's not just one panel's decision. And Reese was saying, you know, when I think about these things, I think about not just who won dominantly, but the impact that they have on the sport. Like Time Magazine, when they do Man of the Year and Woman of the Year, it's the person's impact that they had in the world, you know, and how they left. And that's how they dominated the news story and become Man of the Year, Woman of the Year. You have leveled up on your impact in terms of your social media. And I see you, the world's strongest man, you know, linking up with you, doing like social media posts and whatnot, and you showed up. I think did you show up at the World's Strongest Man competition, or was it a different strongman competition? You've
No,
been all over the
no,
place lately.
yeah, man. I was fortunate enough that the higher ups at SBD, you know, after Sheffield, like they just felt generous enough to because um our SBD representative, you know, our fellow comrade, um, he had talked to the CEO and told him how like me and Pablo were big strongman fans, like growing up, and like just coming into strength sports in our own right. So they were just kind enough to bless me and Pablo with some tickets to World's Strongest Man in Myrtle Beach. So like, and I'm a big road trip guy. I love driving into country that I've never been or experienced because it's just so many different environments, you know, that have beauty in their own right. So I've driven to I think it's the East Coast. I've driven to like Florida before, but I've never driven north up the East Coast because it's like you go through, I think, Louisiana, Alabama, and Georgia. And then normally, if you're going to Florida, you go south into Florida, but never north up into the Carolinas. So I figured it was a good opportunity to have like a brothers trip. One of our dear friends came with us as well, and it was just it was such a good um opportunity. But I'm not gonna lie, like I was there, and at the time, like it was on the table to potentially like switch over, but after a lot of thought and stuff,
Wow.
like I kind of decided like it's not really my cup of tea. But it was very inspiring to just get to see like that was Brian Shaw's last World's Strongest Man. So like that was kind of the biggest takeaway was being able to, because like Brian Shaw is like one of those guys where it's like, now that's greatness. Like Brian Shaw is like a Michael Jordan of strength. He's top 10 like strength sports all time. Like you can't talk about powerlifting or weightlifting or strongman without putting Brian Shaw somewhere in there. You know, I'll
Yeah.
leave people up to the discretion to like kind of put him wherever in the top 10. So like that was cool. I got to meet Mitchell Hooper, the current world
Canadian,
strongest
by
man.
the way.
Yeah, he's a cool
Canadian
dude.
won it. Canadian
Yeah.
won it, man. I mean, I'm Canadian. I'm showing a little bias here, but our boy won it. And he came on the podcast. Super nice guy.
Yeah,
Mitchell
I
couldn't
like
have, he
Mitchell.
lived up.
Yeah, I feel like the way that he carries himself and his confidence, I feel like to a lot of people, it's unfamiliar, you know. So I think if anybody has anything negative to say about him, it's just because they don't really understand him or people that are just like hyper focused and super confident in themselves. But yeah, man, like there was a little interaction that me and Mitchell had where like he asked me if I was thinking about coming over, and I was like, I mean, like, I still got some stuff to do. And then he was like, well, make sure that you become the best power lifter of all time before you come over, right? And it was just like this moment where like I just felt like the electricity like running through my skin. And I was like, don't doubt it, bro. Like if I come over, like I'm coming to compete. But I I mean,
Awesome. Dude, I hope that was on tape. That would have been amazing.
no, no, no. It was just like this little private interaction where it was like there he was celebrating, like all the strong men were like at the bar, like they were having a good time. But no, man, like I really like what Mitchell's been doing in the sport. I think he's like the perfect guy for the step that strongman where it is right now because they're kind of moving away from static strength, right? And I know a bunch of the guys aren't too happy about that, but I mean, it's your job as an athlete to adapt to the changing rules and stuff, right? It happens all the time in any sport. Anytime there's like a big rule change, a lot of people don't like it, but like what can you do? You're the athlete. So you just gotta do your best to adapt. And I think like Mitchell is like the perfect combination. Like I watched some of his stuff where he talked about like his background and stuff and like how he some of his background stuff like helped propel him in some of the events, you know, like his cardio training, how he does like sprints regularly, how like he transitions that into like faster paced events. And it's like, man, like I think Mitchell's going to be the guy to beat for a while. But I mean, like Martins is coming back for the Arnold, Thor's coming back. So it's like now you're throwing in some guys who are good at some of the stuff Mitchell's good at. And if you talk to the strongman, like they'll tell you, like, you don't always have to win every event. Like as long as you play well, your points
Hmm.
add up at the end. So, you know, I think Mitchell is up for the challenge, you know, because like if he can repeat against like the other reigning world strongest man, because like now like you're gonna have Novikov, you're gonna have Thor back, you're gonna have Martins back. So it's like if he can win against those guys, I think that would for sure put him in like top 10 strongman of all time. So
Yeah.
I think it's an exciting time for strongman as well.
Yeah. just a little background on Mitchell because he came on the podcast and he was talking about he previously ran marathons, which is
Yeah, that's
crazy.
crazy.
We show, dude, he doesn't look like the same human being. Looks totally different, but
Yeah.
he previously ran marathons and he talked about he throws in cardio, sprints, full on a man that size sprinting, and that's the hardest working treadmill to hold itself together as this guy pounds away doing sprints and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, he's something special in his rise in strongman. I think he won World's Strongest Man in his second, maybe third year, but it might have been his second year.
Mm,
It's so
yeah,
quick.
yeah. I think it was the second year.
It's insane. I think it was a sophomore year, and he's World's Strongest Man. I mean, it's just insane his ascension. And much like you, after he won the title, ever since on social media has been taking advantage. The photo ops, the videos to put together, and everything, and knowing, kind of like you talked about, make hay while the sun shines. It's not going to be like this forever. Make your impact.
Yeah.
Shake as many hands. Live it up. And I was interested in how you would be received by the world strongman, because when you show up, it's kind of weird. You have an alpha who's the apex predator in his jungle, and then you have some other alphas who are the apex predator in their jungle. And that alpha crossed over to come say hi. It is like it's the same but different. It's all strength, but it is quite a bit different to your point. And the events are not all just static strength right now. So it's not
Yeah.
really the time period for maybe a powerlifter to cross over. I don't know. Have you? It would be
That's what I'm
amazing
saying.
if
A
you're like,
lot of people forget that I was a Division 1 track and field / football athlete. Like so many people forget
are you
about that.
Division 1 track?
Yeah, man. I was throwing shot put and disc and like a bunch of the stuff that you do is like plyometric based and
Oh,
stuff. And then like obviously football, like you have to have good agility and mobility. But that's what I'm saying. Like
holy
uh
smokes, Jesus! I'm
when
glad you said that because
when people
throwing's
say it, they
huge.
forget. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know if we talked about it much. That's huge,
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
It's all right. It's all right. Nah, man, but I really had to think long and hard because a big part of my bigger mission is like preaching to other athletes to stay natural. And, in strongman, that's just not the case where their kind of testing isn't PED based. They test for hard drugs. So like a bunch of the guys, like I was very fortunate to like talk with I gotta think about with some of like the big guys that I grew up watching, like I'm having a brain for it right now. But
But
all of
you don't
them
got to name
asked
names, anyways.
yeah, all of them asked me, they were do you get tested? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, they leaned in a little closer and they were like, no, like, do you get dope tested? And I was like, yeah, I do. And then they were like, oh man, like that, like to them, that was even crazier that I get out of meat tested and drug tested and stuff like that for PDs. So then it's just like it just goes to show the difference, And it's like I don't want to be the guy who like takes hard work away from people who do just because I'm fortunate enough to not use it and not need it. But I do think when it comes down to like, okay, like if you want to talk about strength athletes, I think that's something that you have to put on my name because I do get out of me tested. Like I get my blood taken. I get taken. I get drug tested right after every competition. So it's like, and like this is I didn't like, and I'll take it even a step further, right? Like when people win World Strongest Man or any competition that big money meets, they get paid either that same afternoon or the same day, or I mean the next day. Whereas like we have to wait 2 to 3 months for everyone's drug test to like get checked out before we even get to see a penny from like the amount of money that we're getting paid. Like man, like
Mm.
that to me I was like, man, like just imagine like winning World Strongest Man like 200K, and like as soon as the competition's done like you're just like top of the world, and then you check your account and you're just like like we don't get that. We gotta wait. We gotta be like, hey man, like What's the holdup? What's going on? And it's just like that's just like a little nugget, like a lot of people don't really know about. But I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that I'll never do a strongman competition, just because like maybe I'll give it a shot for the deadlift world record. Like, let's say like I've already won my sixth world title. I've like three Sheffield championships, totaled like over 1,200. Excuse me, and I pulled like 950 stiff bar in competition, or maybe even 1,000. Be the first guy to squat and deadlift 1,000 in competition. Like, it might be fun, man, just to put on a suit and some straps, deadlift bar, because why not? It'd be just for fun at that point, because I've already cemented my legacy. But I mean, until then, like, I gotta stay focused. Um I gotta stay married to the game. So I mean, well, maybe it's a conversation for a few years down the line.
Yeah, I got a couple follow-up questions, but first off, do you think they think you're natty? Or do you think they think, no way? Because
I
you're doing things
mean,
that they can't do. They can do a lot of things too, but you're
yeah,
doing things they can't do and they know what they're doing. So do they look at you and a part of it's going to be a little bit of ego on their side, be like, no way. He could do this without PEDs when he's outdoing me and I know what I'm taking.
yeah, and then that's always what it comes down to, man. Like, humanity has always had a hard time coming to grip with things they don't understand. And what people understand is, oh, well, 99% of people who are at this strength level are on stuff. So when you get that 1% come along, it just, you're comparing orange to apples, but people are like, oh, it's still a fruit, right? Um, I can't tell you what they think. I think a few of them do, and then obviously a few of them don't. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think by the time I'm done competing, man, like literally, man, people in my own city, like here in San Antonio, like I got people making up rumors that I'm buying stuff from them, but it's like I've never met these people. I've never
Yeah.
met these guys. I've never
It's
met
it's
these
like a claim
people.
to fame that's not real. They're like making yeah.
Yeah, man. And it's just like, and then like obviously on social media, man, like a lot of people are gonna have stuff to say. Like I know Mark Bell reposted my deadlift, and I went through some of the comments and stuff, and like a few people were saying like, oh, like lying about your status and competing and tested is lame. But I'm like, bro, like I'm at the point where I've kind of just learned how to like not listen to those people, because how are they going to digest and understand something they don't have? Like, that's just, it's always been one of humanity's greatest downfalls is like envy, jealousy, and stuff like that. And strength is such a big component of a man's ego. Like, every man dreams about being the world's strongest man. And I'm just very fortunate that I grew up in a household that was strongly against even supplements, right? Like growing up, like I wasn't even allowed, like, like you see those memes, those stereotypes of like Hispanic moms or just moms in general, like, oh, like don't take creatine, like don't take like I wasn't even allowed to take protein as a 12, 13, 14-year old, even into high
My
school.
gosh.
Yeah, man. And it's just like something my sister has always taught me is she told me, she was like, Jesus, like God's blessed you with strength. Like, and she would tell me like the story about Samson and stuff like that. And so I just think that like I have a blessing, man. Like I just have this ability to be this strong naturally. And people are gonna be like, that's bullshit. Or they're gonna be like, oh, like he's just saying this to because he's supposed to for sponsors, blah, 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 blah. But like, I mean, like, what do you want me to do? Like hop on stuff? Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like go through my pantries, go through my food. Like I go to HEB, I go to Costco, like walk with me, come to Texas, come live with me for a month. Like, bro, like come see me take a dookie and like see me shower, like whatever you got to do to like come to terms with I'm just gifted and I've been blessed with the opportunities to bring this gift and use it to develop a platform where I can tell my story, you know? And people are always going to be like, oh, well, he's taking something experimental that hasn't even checked up. But let me tell you guys something like the IPF and WADA, they always take 2 tubes of pee. One of them is to test it immediately, while the other one, they store it. And every time that something new comes along that gets put on the banned list, they go back to test those old samples. So if you're taking something experimental that's not on the list that they can't pop you for, they're going to go back and check your stuff from a while ago. They're going to run it again, and then if you're lying or hiding stuff, you're going to get popped eventually. So it's like I can't express the level of stress that I feel when I'm buying supplements like pre-workouts and stuff. Like I got to make sure this stuff is tested. Like I'll message Pete and be like, hey man, like have you heard anything about this company? Or like I was even having a conversation with Gavin, and he was like, bro, like I heard some stuff. Like he was like, it's not definitive, but it's hearsay, and I'll just be like, okay, I'm not gonna buy it. So it's like people are always gonna have to come with that reality, man. Like it's just there's nothing you can do about it. Like you can comment on posts all you want. Like I can be in people's heads rent free. Like I'm pretty sure like there's people right now like, and that's why I was telling you like 60-40, because I honestly feel like the untested community doesn't like me or Pablo at all. And like I have a lot of reason
Really?
to believe that. Yeah, man.
Why
But
do you think that? Because of like first
because
off,
I'm
doubling
stronger.
back, you can't. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I mean,
I think it just comes down to that, man. That's at the core of it, and then people are gonna cut it up and dice it up however they want, and then serve the plate. So actually, no. And then another thing is like what I've heard is like people think that like I'm arrogant and full of myself, but I
what
mean,
you aren't. Here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you right now. I started the podcast by saying you're the king of the kings, and you started the podcast by saying, please don't say that. You're a man of faith, and you said to me that's Jesus Christ, but it keeps you humble. Your faith keeps you humble. You openly will say, like, this isn't me. This isn't my doing. It's a blessing. All power is not through. It's just you deflect. You don't take on. You'll stop the podcast being like, all right, let's hang on a second. And this is still definitively you are the powerlifter of the year. You are the strongest man we've ever seen in our sport. You are all of those things. I don't know. These people, whoever's saying you're arrogant has not been around you. They don't know you.
like
Like
I can understand the skepticism and the criticism, but like what really gets me is like when people challenge my character, I'm like, whoa. Like I can understand why you think I'm lying, but to say the other stuff, I'm like, okay, bro. Like now you're kind of showing you're a little salty. All right, let's put a pause there and let's unravel it and think. Why do you think that? But I mean that's a whole lot of conversations that I really rather not have with a lot of people.
right, fair enough. No, and yeah, man, that's the one thing about social media in general. The bigger your star gets, the more you'll have a little bit of blend of both. And there will
Yeah.
be people, if you get too dominant for too long, this is what Russ has noticed. He's been on top for a while now,
Yeah, you
which is
become like the
very,
villain.
you become, you're the Yankees in baseball.
Yeah.
If you're dynasty and you're the Yankees, you're winning too long, people like, man, fuck the Yankees. I want
You
to see the
become like
Yankees lose.
you become like Tom Brady and the Patriots, where
That's
everyone's
right.
like, man, I can't stand the Patriots winning.
Enough of him winning already. And if someone ever beats, like it's an individual sport, but if someone beats the guy who's been on top forever, that guy can be the underdog hero and be like, yes. They're just like, it just becomes, you start rooting for an underdog after a while. You were the underdog in the rise. But when you're on top for too long, eventually it's going to happen. But that comes with success no matter what. No matter what.
You know
It's
what made me
inevitable.
feel a little better, Ryan? I was on Tom Brady's Instagram, and like the first 10 comments were just people like crapping on Tom Brady. And I'm like, whoa, bro, like
Yeah.
Tom, like, bro, like shut the hell up. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like Tom Brady's like Tom, you don't even have to call Tom Brady the GOAT. You just say Tom Brady. That's it.
It's crazy. But to your point, I can see where you make you feel better, where it's like, no, this is just human nature. It's just
Yeah.
part of it, that there's nothing more. And in terms of doubling back real quick, in terms of strongman, yeah, you couldn't, talking about WADA drug testing, you couldn't do any strongman events because it's not WADA.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. And if I'm thinking about it like this, I would prefer seeing you doing everything you're doing in powerlifting and not cross over, because you would just be participating, but you're not going to go all in like those
Yeah.
gentlemen. And then and you'd have to close the door on powerlifting. You couldn't go back because of the water thing. And here's another thing: powerlifting is expanding exponentially. You're
Yeah.
making good money now. It's going to get better and better and better. You've seen it. Like in terms, like, what would it mean? You already know millions of people watch powerlifting on Eurosport. What would it mean to you to find out, let's say in 2024, 2025, that a major deal like Eurosport gets brokered in North America? So millions of people flip on their television on a Saturday and watch powerlifting and Jesus Olivares at the World Championships or Sheffield or whatever.
No, man, like that'd be huge. I mean, but I don't know, Ryan, because when I started competing, I didn't really like, I just remember talking to Pablo, and our idea of making it was getting free knee sleeves and free equipment and stuff like that. That was
Amazing.
that was that was our idea of holy crap, dude. Like we made it. Like that's the good life. And honestly, man, like I didn't even really have a vision for social media. Like Pablo has been the one who's been like the heart behind that. And like obviously now, like I've kind of got the hang of it, and I know how to work it without putting too much thought into it. Like I'll take like I think when I was like you could tell the difference from when like I was going from like posting on social media stuff to training, right? Like you could tell, like if you go through my page, you can see where I was doing like edits and stuff, and then oh, he flipped a switch and like it's just training, right? Because it is a different mentality, and I was very fortunate enough to like have Pablo, because Pablo was the one who was like into YouTube. Pablo's the one who like showed me Russell, who showed me Joey, like a bunch of other big names who like now I can call them like some of these are my friends. Excuse me. And like he's the one who showed me, excuse me, like the benefit of taking social media seriously, because like you got lemons in your hand. Like, what are you gonna do with them? Like, are you gonna be like I don't like lemonade, so I'm not gonna make it? Or you can be like, I don't have to drink it, but there's a market for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't have to use the lemons you got to make lemonade for yourself. Like, because honestly, man, like, I'll be honest. Like sometimes social media is a bit draining. Like that's why sometimes I just like posting my training videos, because I don't have to go, because when you go into a gym thinking about content, like you're not even thinking about training. You're thinking more so about like different angles, like different skits, blah blah blah. And it takes away from the pure like just putting your music on, putting your head down, just lifting weights. And like that's where my passion is. Like that's what I love about what I do. It's just the art of improving. But I mean, like, don't get me wrong, man. It's been pretty cool seeing like how much of like how far I've come, because I just remember like thinking like, man, like 100K is like a lot, or like just 10K. I remember like 10K. Oh man, like 10K is a lot. And then like the next goal 25, and then 50, and then 70, and then 100, and like now, like we're at 200. And like I have goals pertaining to social media like separately. Like um I'm kind of projecting like another big jump after Sheffield, so if I can get
Probably.
to like yeah, if I can get to like 250 or 250 plus after Sheffield, then I know for sure I'm going to end the year with at least 300, and like these numbers are arbitrary, man. Like it's like understand full well like the difference between social media and like real life. Like social media isn't where, like, I don't walk around to Bass Pro like, oh, I got, this is my following, or this is who I'm like, no, man, like I'm just there to go look at guns. Like I'm there to go look at a hoodie with some camo on it. Or if I go to HEB, like, man, like I love HEB. I'm from Texas. Like I love my state, and I think that should be something that people take. If that's one thing I think people can take away from how I've handled my development, is I've always tried to stay true to who I am and my family, because I feel like nowadays people go into the gym trying to hit a certain weight to garner interaction. And it's like, no, man, like you got it backwards. Like, don't go to the gym for like to grow your social media. Like, no, like people will follow you if there's something worth following along with. And you got to give people something to bite into, to believe in, to check in on you with, to like either hate you or love you. Like just be yourself, and hopefully like you can make something of it. Or if you just want to be a content creator, like then that's entirely different. Like you're not really an athlete, you're not really having to deal with the ups and downs of like training and nutrition and recovery, and like having to make ends meet, like you're just making content for fun. So that's different. But no, man, like it's something that my eyes have been open to. And and it's fun, it can be fun. Like it feels good like when you see one of your posts like generate a good amount of attention and stuff. So but at the same time, man, like it's also growing my brand, because like the more people that chime in on me and check on me, like some of these people have been like supporting me since 2019, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's those people that, like the people who have been like supporting me for a long time, like those are the people that I, like mess with a lot. So, I mean, it's been a journey, man, for sure. Like I can like look back and just feel the weight that time has put onto my shoulders, man. Like just the responsibilities that I have, the visions that I have, the lessons that I've learned and stuff. So, but I mean, like, hey, man, like we still got a lot of, I still got a lot to learn. I still have a lot to do and a lot to prove. So it's like, just got to take every day little by little.
It's social media helps in a couple folds, and there's importance to it a couple ways out. Like when you said it improves your brand, 100%, it opens up opportunities that otherwise would
Yeah.
not be there. Like if you get to, like you're saying, those are arbitrary numbers, fair enough. But if you get to 500,000 followers, you have 500,000 people following you, drop a promo code then, offer services then, drop merch then. You can make a living off of this. You have a big enough of
Well,
following, sustainable, doors open up where you're like, I can be full-time powerlifting, full-time. I can employ family members. I can like, doors open up you never would
yeah.
have thought were there,
All right,
you
all
know?
right. I'll give a few free nuggets to people who are listening. So, what I've come to learn is you have to understand your audience. Like, I know, like, you see everybody like pick up a supplement. Like, this is how they'll cut it down. Like, you want a supplement sponsor, an apparel sponsor, equipment sponsor, maybe even like footwear, right? So those are like the four big ones that you can, like, I feel like if you're a power lifter that you develop far enough and you shine light enough, because at the end of the day, like these companies are businesses. And the hard part is as athletes, we wear our heart on our sleeves. So there's just a bit of a learning curve when you start to negotiate deals and stuff. So like if anyone's listening, like just keep that in mind. Like you want to work with a company who you resonate with, and then in turn your audience resonates with. Because if you partner with a supplement company, like go through their athletes, like look at what they cater to, and then like like maybe you're a one-off and you don't fit their image, but you just have enough loyal people that you're successful and you generate enough code usages. Because yeah, the more following you have, like the more pull you have, that's what you use to negotiate like how much you get paid, right? But the more you get paid, the more likely you are to be cut, because then they would want you to at least make three times of what they're paying you usually. So then like think about it. If you're getting paid $1,000 a month, they're expecting you to make $3,000 in sales. And
Mm.
that's a lot harder to accomplish than you think. So it's like let's say you get signed to a company for 6 months and you don't hit the quota, like you could end up getting cut 2 months in. And like so it's a very, and that's what I'm saying, like a lot of these younger guys, like they don't understand the nature of it. Like you could be cut at any given moment. Um so it's just like I said, like take it with a grain of salt, like grow with it, use it to learn, like try to kind of find your niche, and then in turn use that to like I think on I was on his website and I saw Martine's quote. He had a quote that said, exaggerate your good habits and just use that. Like just exaggerate what you're good at. Exaggerate what you want to be identified as. Maybe not what people look at you as, but have a vision of what you want people to think when you're going out anywhere, and try to manifest that into who you become. And it's just what I'm saying, because like these are some of the things I've had to learn, right? Because powerlifting is such a niche sport where there's not really a lot of us who have had this experience, and even less who talk about it or share it, right? Because everyone likes to gatekeep. Nobody likes to talk about money publicly, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, man, like I think where the sport is heading, these are conversations we need to have with the next generation. Because to a big supplement company, like, yeah, like you could have X amount of follows and you can be like the world champ in your weight class, multi-world champ, like world record holder. But if you're not making money, they're gonna cut you. They don't care that you're who you are. Like they see a number on your head. Like now you might be fortunate and maybe you develop a good relationship and you can gain some leniency. But most of the time, like it's a business, so just make sure, guys, like you don't have any hard feelings, because like it just is what it is. It's a job, really, man. And I think for a lot of people, like it can take away some of the shine and passion of what they're doing. So it's like, I mean, I don't know, like they might help a few sort of like people, like maybe some of the up and coming guys, but like this is information that I think people should, if you're interested in going this route, it's something that you should know. So hope it helps somebody.
Yeah, it's the classic tale where you, and this happens all the time in corporations, you get promoted and there's a current president, and you get promoted and you get a high salary. And to your point, new president comes in and immediately they want to bring down the numbers on the headcount here. And where can we save some money? He doesn't know you from anyone else. And he's looking, oh wow, look at this guy's salary. Well, this guy's got to go. And that high salary actually puts a target on you. when
Yeah.
when you when you move up in a company, you're getting close to getting kicked out because you're making so much money. They can hire somebody. You're 55, they're looking at a guy who's 30 and they can replace you and pay him 60K less a year. And this happens all the time. So you got to be careful. To your point earlier, when you're like, you might get in talks with certain companies that want to give you certain salaries, but understand, if they're not powerlifting orientated, you're not they're not in that space necessarily. They're very much overanalyzing. You need to produce very, very quickly, and there's not much leeway. Or on the flip side, let's say you're working with SBD or something, and not to get into contracts, but they are very much in the powerlifting space, very much
Mhm.
appreciate. Of course, they need a return on investment, of course, but also, of course, look at the loyalty they've had with certain people they've had for years
Mhm.
because they're extremely invest. I mean, they don't make money on Sheffield. Well, just to show you the difference. Whereas other corporations might be bigger. And you got to be careful. It's flattering when a big company recognizes you, gives you a lot of
Yeah.
money, but also it could be very fleeting and stressful, and they're not going to talk to you quite the same. It
Yeah,
is a
that's
good little
why
heads up.
I'm a little hesitant to work with companies that I enjoy their products, like outside of training, because if we do a deal and it goes south, then every time I see it, I'm just gonna be like, man, like I like this drink, but I don't want to drink it anymore because they dropped me. So that's why, like, I'm always like very careful
No, no one to
about
see me
like,
at this event with this drink in my hand, so people think, "Hey, Zeus Olivares drinks that. I'm going to drink it," you know. But I know what you mean. It's it, here's another thing. Here's another thing that it all ties into what we were talking about earlier. So Eurosport, it's been massive. The following in Europe has been crazy. The viewership of powerlifting has been crazy. Not just Eurosport, but now it converts fans. People are like, I don't know, what's this on TV? They watch it and like, oh my god, I love this. And then you look at some of these people that, like in Europe, like Penna is exploding. Some of these people are exploding over there. And with that, I also know, not to get into his business, but I know sponsorship wise, you can make a lot of money now, very good money doing sponsorship deals and whatnot. And this is what's going to happen when if more and more of these deals come, and we know like as the sport grows, more and more deals will come. A major one gets brokered on the US side. A major broadcaster picks you up on the US side. And now millions of people are tuning in. Yes, sponsors will come, not just for the IPF World Championships, but individual athletes. They'll be like, well, Jesus Olivares is on insert the broadcast, and millions of people watch him. Millions of people are watching him all over Europe because of Eurosport, North America, and like some of these broadcasters in North America are all like South America and everything as well.
yeah. Or we can even
And
talk
they
about
see
Nike getting into strength equipment.
my dude,
Think
and
about
this is
that.
before. I mean, I think this is all inevitable. To be honest with you, I think all of these deals are going to start coming more and more. We're just at the tip of it. And I think the major companies, sorry, the big ones like that are going to start looking for opportunity. And I would not be at all shocked, Jesus, if in 3, 4 years, you're the guy, you broke and raised records, whatever. That's why just doubling back, I know we've gone on a couple different avenues and I like that. But when I was saying, you know what, don't go strong, man, stay where you are in powerlifting because I think it's going to grow like crazy and you're not going to want to leave. You'll make just as much money as they do staying right here. Sheffield will grow. All the different financial opportunities as an athlete will grow. And on top of that, I think Nikes and Gatorades and whatever, what have you, are going to start getting involved. And first step is, I know some people are like, "Oh, we don't need TV." It might. People don't know what happens until after it comes, and then they're like, "Oh crap! I guess television really does work." Because organizations that aren't going to look for you on a stream, they're not going to look for you on IPF powerlifting stream, but they will see you on TV, and it will be enough to be like, "I have been viewed by millions of people on TV. I've been viewed on Eurosport. I've been viewed on whatever other broadcasters." They will notice that. And yes, man, I think the next 5 years is going to be crazy growth, and it's coming. And
No, I agree. I agree.
yeah,
And
it,
it's like, and then I was talking to Omar about this. Like he was asking me like how I felt, and I think that I have like a responsibility and an obligation to stick with powerlifting because like this is just like and at the same time like there's a lot of different variables. Like I know we talked about one is there's no drug testing in strongman. Like there's more money and I think I could be decent at it within a year or two. But like one, like I want to be drug tested. That's gonna add like something to my legacy that if somebody else wants to beat, they have to follow my footsteps. And then if they want to surpass me, they have to do what I did and do it better. Um, but on the other hand, it's just like powerlifting is one of those sports where it's a lot easier to manage like fatigue and training and stuff. So it's like, man, like I was having dinner one time with Jerry Pritchett. We were in Dallas doing a photo shoot for SBD together. And like Jerry is like one of those guys that I've been watching for years, right? So it was super cool like having to eat a steak with him. And like he was talking to the table and he was like saying that it's almost a rite of passage, right? In quotation marks, that like it's like you pop your bicep. And I was just like, I don't want to pop a bicep. I think what I'm doing right now, like staying healthy and stuff, like I think I got it down where like, I got my recipe for success and like life is very enjoyable outside of the gym, like my quality of life, like with how I feel and look. So it's just like, mm, yeah, man, like I don't want to be having a message some big strongman guy and be like, hey man, like who's your bicep surgeon? I need a reference.
You know what? I mean, we kid, but you're 100% right on the money. I think, like, I don't know how a guy like Brian Shaw makes it, to your point of why he's such a legend, and Zadruna Savikas, like Big Z and them, how they've lasted like they have, because it is a brutal sport, strongman. In terms of
Uh,
injuries, crazy amount of injuries. Whereas powerlifting, because your lifts are linear, like up, down, except for the bench press is a small curve, but a
yeah.
lot safer, a heck of a lot safer, and the load increases slowly. You have all the control in the world. You're warm up to your top weight, even on competition day.
Mhm.
Whereas in strongman, it's going to go 0 to 100, man. You got to pull a freaking plane. You don't have warm up planes, my friend. You're just gonna, you're gonna pull a plane. You're gonna be doing all types of explosive movements, and God knows what's gonna happen to you. So yeah, it's a whole nother level of dangerous. And I think if you stay in the pocket with powerlifting, you're already all right. Let's say you're not I was about to say you're already the greatest of all time. You're already the strongest of all time. You could be the greatest of all time title wise very shortly. You're already at 3 and it's 2024. You're eyeing down 4. So we're 1 or 2 years away, my man. So here we are. Giving that up, and you could grow with the sport, making this money, making these ties, and become that guy. What Ray did for us previously, when I was talking about, look, he got us on ESPN. Look, he did all this when we were on Ray's back, and he did so much for the sport in this time period. What Ray did for us then, Jesus, we're going to look back in 5 years and talk about you, like what you did for Sheffield. I've said the story before. I'll say it again. I listen to MMA podcasts, not powerlifting podcasts. I listen to MMA podcasts. They were talking about
Mhm.
you at Sheffield.
Bro, who was talking about
These
me,
are
bro?
powerlifters. This is mainstream talk. These are guys who interview Francis Ngannou. You understand? Like Francis Ngannou listens to their show. They were talking about, did you hear about that event, Sheffield? In that guy, Jesus Olivares, and they were talking about what you were doing. And I'm like, holy shit, that's what's happening now in 5 years, man. This is
I see
stay
the
put.
vision.
Just stay put. You're going to be that guy, and what you're going to do with us when we look back at the Ray era and everything he did for us. We're going to look back at the Jesus Olivares era and be like, look what he did for us. And when these companies come in, if hopefully, like if Nike does shoes and Gatorade does drinks, and because we cut weight and have to replenish and all the rest of it, and they find their niches to jump in, and we all get along, and it just blows up. I hope you sign those contracts and you're amongst those guys. And it's if not you, who the hell else, man? It's got to be you. I don't
Only
know.
time to tell, Ryan. Only time to tell.
Exactly. And then who the frick knows about the Olympics? Maybe we make it, maybe we don't. But I'm telling you right now, whenever you have views like that and people talking all over the world like that, in major multi-million dollar companies investing like this, Olympics is all about television and all about making money. And eventually they'll be like, what are we waiting for? Let's make a little money, huh? Can we make money with these
Yeah,
guys? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. They'll be like, well, let's go then. Let's take out whatever silly sport they have in because they have tons of silly sports no one watches.
yeah,
And we're getting in, buddy. No, we're getting it.
yeah. I think 2025 is probably going to be the most like monumental year, just because like it's getting to a point where like there's a season in powerlifting where it's like uh February, March, June, and then like break time, right? But it's like when you throw the World Games into the mix, what World Games is what every 2 years,
Four, like the
every four
Olympics.
years, right? So it's like you throw in like that's kind of normally what powerlifting is now. You have like Sheffield Nationals, Worlds, break time. So you have like 6 months at the beginning of the year where like we're in season, and then you throw in the World Games in what, August, right? Late August of 2025. Well,
Oh,
I guess the exact date doesn't really like matter too much, right? But it's like if as a sport, not just like myself as an individual, but like as a sport, like you have like all the big names, all the best people, like men and women, have a great year, and like we put on a show at World Games, Sheffield and Worlds. Like I think that is going to be our opportunity as a sport to like make our case. Like that is like literally the year and the opportunity, because if Sheffield can continue to like have the hype behind it, right? Like we just continue to put on these like never before seen performances. And then obviously I think for a lot of people, if you don't have to go hard at Worlds, then like you just do what you gotta do, secure your World Game spot, and then World Games, man. Like that's the big one. I think and that's what makes it tough, is because like normally you just kind of pick one meet out of the year where you just really put your all into it. And then if you don't have to, you kind of like you just do what you got to do to cruise. So you're not like risking injury. But it's like 2025 is it's going to be a long year. It's going to be a lot of travel. It's going to be a lot of like new variables that we've never seen before in the sport, and I think it's really going to be super interesting, man. Like it's going to be tough, but I think if as a sport we handle our business, we go out there and we do our thing. I think that's going to be the year where powerlifting takes another big jump, because I think Sheffield was one of those meets where it was like it opened a lot of people's eyes, and then I think Sheffield's going to do the same. You never know, man. Like you never know. I think it's going to be completely dependent on the performances that we have. I think for sure, if I can go out there and hit like 2,600, I think that's going to have the same effect that it had last year, and people are going to be like, "Holy shit! Like we got to go to Sheffield. Jesus is going to be there." Or like if John and Gavin, if they both total over 2K, like that's going to be like another thing. Like, oh my god, like let's go. So when you start to put like these big meets all in the same year, like there's a lot of opportunities to like go out there and like make something happen. And like we as a team, like maybe not a team, right? We all have like our own camps, but as a collective, like coaches, like athletes, like we put our differences aside and we go out there and represent our sport. Like I have no doubt that we could potentially be like having conversations about the Olympics like for the next one, which I think would be 2028, right?
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
we're about to have the Olympics this year, right? In 24.
that's right. I think I don't know if how, I know they finalize things in Olympic cycles in advance, but if not 20, we'll see.
Mm,
But let me just echo what you're saying here. Sheffield, every single year is going to get bigger in terms of the teams grow, their ideas grow. I guarantee you this Sheffield's going to be twice as good as last year's, and next year's is going to be twice as good as this one. Now, let me
Yeah.
also throw this out there because I agree 100%. I think you're dead on that. When we look at our timeline, 2023 was massive. Sheffield and Worlds felt like nothing we'd ever felt. Worlds felt like nothing we'd ever felt before. Sheffield was like nothing we'd ever felt. 2025 World Games, Sheffield in Worlds. I think in terms of media coverage, it's only expanding in Eurosports the beginning. In terms of the athletes, we got yourself, my man, picture Russell Orhe potentially at Sheffield and World Championships. Picture Rondell Hunt at World Championships, World Games in Sheffield. Picture like these individuals, not those, as well as yourself, as well as Sheffield leveling up, as well as the impact World Games will have on everybody who's not just a powerlifting fan, as well as God knows how many other channels have already picked up the World Championships and are watching all over the world. 2025, this is all setting up, I think, a colossal explosion that'll be 2025. I think you're 100% right. And I think it'll never be the same again. And opportunities for everybody, it's going to all change. And we're going to look at pre 2025 and post 2025. We kind of do now for 2023. It'll be elevated though. We'll look back at 2023 and say that was the genesis of it. That was the beginning, but it hadn't yet blew. We all knew within our community, but it hadn't blew outside the community yet. I think 2025, we blow right outside the community.
Yeah.
Right
And
outside.
I think another thing that'll help is, as like you said, there was people in the MMA world talking about me. Like what I did last year transcended powerlifting and put me like into strength sports as a whole, right? And it like that's what we need from our other athletes, you know? Like Perk is right there where if people could just comprehend what he did at
Perk.
74 kilos, it would blow people's minds. If people can understand what Rondell is doing, it would blow people's minds. But like I said, man, we just got to get all of these guys on the same platform, on the same stage, and it's just like we're all going to benefit from each other being there. You know, like this isn't just about our individual. Like yeah, like we all have our egos. We all want to be the best. We all have similar goals and stuff. But it's like where my mind is at. It isn't just about my legacy. Like I like you said, like I do understand the potential that I have to not like how Ray did. You know, it's like grow with the sport and like help take that next step. Like I think that's something that we should be having because it's like right now, like I'm 25. I think Rondell's like 27, give or take. Perk is I think a year younger than me, so he's 24. Like Ash is 26, but he's kind of talking about like going into CrossFit or combat sports and stuff. But like if Ash can stay for 2 or 3 more years
And
and
we
get
ain't losing
us,
them.
yeah,
We
get
ain't
us
losing.
into World Games, like he does his thing, you know, like there's just so many. We just need all of our strong guys, like all of the best, and like we just need to have this consensus of, hey guys, like, yeah, like we're all trying to be the best lifter of the year. Like we're all trying to cement ourselves in history. But if we as a collective can take this sport to the next level, you know, like with our personalities, like with our fan base and stuff like that, like is like you said, man, like the timeline that we're on is like 2025 is going to be like that year where like it's just got to be done, man. I think it's gonna. I just don't think we're gonna have another opportunity like this as a collective because, like, when you talk about timeline, you talk about the meets that year, the competitions, everything on the line, and then you talk about all the lifters. You know, like the age that we're at, like our priorities right now are primed for something like this. So it's just there's just so many little different things that it's just I just feel like 2025 is It's just going to be big, man. Like you really can't quantify or like describe it because no one can really foresee what's going to happen. But I just know, like, if done properly and everybody shows up and everyone stays healthy and everybody has like this idea in their head of like we can really take the sport to the next level, then I think like when you have that many people that are great manifesting the same thing, like you really, there's really not much that can stop it, man. It's almost like God willing it at that point. So we just got to do our thing.
Yeah, and this isn't reading into it. This is like when you look at the pieces, the chess pieces being moved from Sheffield to Worlds to World Games, and then everything moving in the background they're doing to try to prop these things up. This
Mhm.
isn't just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
We're looking at 2025 for a very good reason, and it's trending that way. This isn't
Yeah.
crazy, and we see other big companies recognizing as well. That says a lot. When other multi-million dollar companies are looking at this, like, well, what's going on over here? It's it's coming. It's coming down the pipeline. And I, my man, you stick in this, you go through 2025, you do the triple crown with those events I just said. I want to hear you on Joe Rogan. I want to hear you on Joe Rogan talking about
Isn't
powerlifting
he?
and being the
Isn't he
strongest
in
man of all time.
Austin? You
What's
said
that,
he
sorry?
lives in Austin, right?
It's in Austin.
Yeah, it's an hour away from me.
Come on. Come on. What are we talking about here? I want
Yeah.
you on Joe Rogan in talking about this. It has to happen. Eventually, it's going to happen. It makes perfect sense to me. He's that strongman on before, and we're getting that big. So I can see. And another thing you touched up on, which I think is important to talk about as well, is the USAPL guys crossing over, like Ash and a couple of these guys. I think in Perk and like, whatever. I won't go through the whole roll call, but there's enough of them. I think it's important to consolidate, to your point, where all under one roof. The competition is under one roof and competing against each other. So when we talk about these events, we just said Worlds, World Games, Sheffield, let's have you all under the same roof competing against each other. We're divided is doesn't work. We're limiting ourselves. In going the USAPL route, I don't see it exploding on that end like we're talking about on this end. Come over on this end. Let's explode this thing. Let's see what happens. We're making a big push, and we need the talent, the showdowns, and the exciting head-to-heads. If we do this, if we do this as a collective, I'm telling you, man, 2024 and 2025, some major, major moves can happen. But it's going to be a lot harder if we split our talent,
Yeah.
at least in one nation. But
And I
anyways,
mean, I think I think over time, like people are going to see that there is a difference between being internationally recognized and nationally recognized because you're not going to get the respect that you think you deserve from you like the other side of the world unless you go and prove it on the other side of the world. Um and it's just that's just how it's always been, man. Like it's not just like us as a team like flex like harping it down other people's, no, like it's literally how it's always been. Like if you want to prove yourself, you have to like prove yourself at the other side of the world, man. And it's just like literally like world champ sure as hell beats national champ. And I think a lot of people still hold that notion, close to the chest. Like, and maybe for me, it's a little different, Ryan, because like I'm a first generation Mexican American. So it's like titles like that mean a great deal to people like my family. Whereas like I don't speak to my grandfather. I've spoken to him maybe twice in the last like 4 years. But when I found like when a word got to me, that word got to him, and that he broke down and started crying, like that's just what this means to some of us, you know. Um, so I think I think people are going to continue to open their eyes and just make their way back this way, you know, because it's just inevitable, man. Like if you want, like you said, like a good example of this in another sport, not too different, is strongman. Like the fact that I think only three strongmen have ever won like Arnold's World's Strongest Man, and I think it's like a third competition that's like another big one. There's only been like three guys that's ever won all three in the same year. I think it was like Brian, Mitchell, and maybe Thor or Martins, either one of them or all four. Like, bro, imagine the conversation of GOAT. Like, oh, like somebody won Sheffield Worlds and World Games in the same year. The prestige that that triple crown will have, because World Games is only every so often, like it's not yearly. Like, okay, man, like it's like in football or soccer, like when you have the World Cup, like these great all time like soccer players, like they only, and I've only kind of like been open to this because I started watching this documentary on Netflix where it's like this, I think it was last year, right? In 23 or 2022, the last World Cup, right? It
Can't,
was like a
it,
year or two.
it was a
Was it
year
like
or
a year
two.
or
I
two
can't
ago?
remember exactly.
Yeah, and it's just like these guys that are recognized as the world's best football players, like the way that they covet a World Cup because it's only, the thing with competitions like this is you don't get to pick and choose that this competition comes around your best year or in your prime. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot can happen every 4 years.
Mm.
So it's like I think having that opportunity to be like a world games winner, world's winner, and then like Sheffield champion in the same year, like I think that's another thing you can have in your resume, man. Like someone could only have two world titles, but they won two Sheffields and a world games. Okay, like you got to put them in the conversation. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
it'll be exactly. I love the way you're thinking. Where it would be that. Well, I could see us debating in years to come, and someone's like, he won this many world titles, this many, and someone goes, well, how many world games has he got? They do this in the equip, but equipped isn't nearly as popular. Not a lot of people debate equip, let's be honest. But
Mm,
they will with classic, where it'll be like, how many world games? Because Jesus has a world games. Like, and that matters. It becomes just another caveat more on the resume to talk about. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the future in terms of those cycles. Yeah, and again, like that goes back to the importance of 2025 and what that might bring. And in terms of you were talking about to the within America, national champions big, worldwide, the title world champions bigger, and they don't people aren't super impressed by national champion. They will be, but it won't be that much around the world. They won't totally get it. More than just that. You're right, but more than just that. Within the US, if you go to these major TV organizations and try to broker deals, or go to these major TV sponsorship brands to try to broker deals, they don't know your sport. It's difficult to say we have a national championship that we're trying to sell to you. And they'd be like, cool. Do you have a world title too, though? You don't. What do you mean? How does this work? Tell me. Well, it's like NFL, but it's not NFL. We have NFL. No, it's not. Don't tell me it is. This is an NFL. They want to see where's this leading. And if there is a federation that's okay, we have the world championship over here within the US, they'll be like, we're going to go with the global because it's going to feel a lot bigger. And you'll have some major branding issues to be like, okay, we do have a World Cup now. It's called the United States of America Powerlifting World Cup. The major brands and TV deals will be like, no, thank you. It matters. This kind of thing does matter. That you have automatic caps on how far you can grow when you stay just within that. To your
yeah.
point, so yeah, I think one side is going to grow a lot more than the other. And I think we're already starting to see that. But let's see, man. I'm excited, man. I'm
Yeah,
excited
but I
for
mean, but I also understand though, because like to people, it's just because powerlifting is still so small that not everyone can like hope to make it to like an international meet. So, but I mean, like I think there's a circuit in place to where it's going to give the people who are genuinely like passionate about this a path to where they can start getting into like this, like you said, like this season. It's like when you buy a battle. Well, maybe that's not a good analogy, but because like I was having a conversation with like this young guy last night. He was like, Jesus, like should I go to like USAPL nationals or should I try to go compete for a junior world title? And like this guy, like I know that he respects me a lot because we've had a similar origin story. So you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, hey man, like if you're really trying to like get some respect on your name, like go to the world's title because you're like you're gonna get some props for winning USAPL nationals, but you're not gonna get like the props internationally. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not just about being the best US lifter. It's like, are you the best all time? Like you gotta compete internationally. Like you can't compare a 4-time world champion to like a 5-time national champion. Because like what if the 4-time world champions lost like 2 world titles, but he won 4 and the other guy hasn't even done any world championships, you know? So it's just that's just my opinion, man. Like I know for some people they don't really care and they'll just like have something to rebuttal with or you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, like this is just my belief. Like to me and my family, like to have the world championships, it just means a lot more. And for some people, it's just not even worth it. You know, like they don't even really care. They're just like, and it's like, all right, bro, cool beans, cool, like cool
Yeah,
talk, whatever.
I mean, put it this way: for some people who are more hobbyists, they'll do whatever meets closest to them. But there is something to be said for it, even if they'll never make it to a world championship. When you first start, how many people put their head on their pillow at night and dream about being at the world championships? And they don't know they're not going to make it yet. And a lot of times, too, it's just being in the same organization as all the stars they look at on TV and streams, etc., means something to them. Even if they're not going to go to the worlds, they're in the same organization as Jesus. They go to nationals and Jesus is there. And that's their nationals. And they're meeting people. And it's like, I'm in the same Fed. I might see Taylor Atwood roaming about. I'm going to see Joey Flex with his people. I'm going to see the Matt Garys in the back warm. Holy shit, that's Matt Gary. You know, I'm going to see the SPD stream and everything. I'm on that stream. You know,
Yeah,
they want to, even if they don't make worlds, they want to be part of the same organization because it gives credibility. You know, or I mean, you go elsewhere. Over time, these kind of things do matter. Even though only 1%ers end up going to worlds, it's true. It is so, but it'll take time. It'll take time to have like meet directors and more meets pop up, etc. So, yeah, there's a lot of infrastructure to be put in place, but we're seeing it. We're seeing it, man. It's exciting times. But
yeah, man, it's a good time.
yeah. But listen, thank you for coming on the podcast, my friend. We just crushed 2 hours, easy peasy lemon squeezy. I appreciate your time, King. You always have given me time, and I appreciate you, man. Obviously, the door is open, and I'm gonna, dude. 20 days you fly out, and I'm gonna see you in freaking Sheffield.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll cross paths at the hotel.
Oh, for sure. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
for sure. It's so cool it's a little different than Worlds because there's fewer of the lifters there. So in the lifter hotel, you see the lifters, the people, your family. I got to meet all your family and hang out.
yeah. And then what's different is like at Worlds, like the way they have the meet formatted, it's like smaller weight class to big weight class throughout the week. Whereas at Sheffield, it's just one meet, it's just one day. So it's like everybody competes on the same day, like everyone's coming in around the same time, everyone's leaving around the same time. To whereas like at Worlds, like if you're trying to meet someone who's like maybe competing in the 59 or the 66 weight class, like by the time I get there, they might already be on the way back home. So like I think that's another element that makes Sheffield a little bit more fun and stuff.
For sure. You know how many people I'm like, you're staying to the banquet, right? At Worlds, and they're like, we got to fly back. I can't take a week and a half off. I'm like, you're missing the banquet. You're gonna miss Jesus. You're gonna miss they're gonna miss the second half. it's tough. I don't get to miss it. I get to be there for all of it, so it's amazing. But a lot of people don't. So yeah, you wouldn't see a lot of people, man. That's why Sheffield's special. It's like a exclusive club you get in, and you walk into that hotel lobby, and who knows who's going to be there. And then the actual event itself is bonkers.
Yeah.
And you mob the
I just
streets
hope
afterwards, man.
I just hope that if the Sheffield team is listening, I hope we take care of all of our stuff like not the day before or 2 days out, but like maybe 3 days out.
What stuff?
Because we had to do like a little photo shoot and like we toured the
Oh,
arena. I think like I don't know if it was I think it was Thursday. Because I think Friday it was like interviews and stuff like the day before. But I would rather I mean it's nuancing. Like at the end of the day, like I'm gonna just do what I gotta do. So but I mean if it was a small request. If it's
yeah,
even
yeah.
pertainable.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure logistically it's freaking crazy. It's kind of because we're starting to become like a sport like that. I hear the same thing. I don't even know if there's something you can do because I hear the same thing for I watch UFC and UFC fighters are always like the last week is hell because it's media week and it's a million
Yeah.
interviews, a million this, that. I don't know. Maybe it's unavoidable if the UFC can't avoid it either, but who the frick knows,
Yeah.
man. But it is what it is. I mean, it's yeah, it's the blessing and the curse, right, my man? It's
Yeah.
you
I
take
mean
it on
I'm
its
just
stride.
saying I'm saying it lightheartedly, like, just
Yeah, no, I
a
know.
little
This is this
a
is
little
this isn't
arrow.
an this isn't an ultimatum or something. But listen, man, thank you for coming on. Good luck with training. And my dude, I know you're gonna kill it. I know you're gonna do a great job, and I'll see you in Sheffield, man. We'll talk
Yes,
on the
sir.
other side of the world.
Yeah. All right, boss man. I'll see you for some tea and biscuit or tea and crumpets.
Tea, crumpets, biscuits, man. I'm down for it all. And
Some
if
fish and
for everybody,
chips.
if for bangers and mash, if for everybody listening, please do subscribe, give us high ratings as per usual. Until next time, six pack Lapadat, six up. We